Hello everyone, welcome back to Edita. I hope you're doing good and preparing well for your exams. Today we'll be continuing with our management series. Yesterday we studied about the basics of communication, and today we'll go further and understand the basics of leadership. We'll understand what is leadership, the basic, leadership practices with examples. So do stay throughout the session, and I guarantee you will understand, or you'll be able to explain it to others as well, that what leadership actually is. So before beginning the session, if you are new at EduTap, I have a very good news for you, that we at EduTap are presenting a comprehensive guidebook for RBI Grade B and SEBI Grade A, which would answer all your common queries in a most prompt manner. It becomes very difficult to find the answers of common queries like the exam pattern, the strategy, the resources to follow, the cutoffs which were existing, and not just that, the perks which you would receive once you join the organization, the interview process, everything in a single platform. And this consumes a lot of your time, and this somewhere hinders and demotivates your preparation process. So we are making this process extremely simple by providing you all the answers in this 30 pages guidebook. And this is must for each of you, because this would save a lot of your time and you can directly jump into your preparation. Moreover, this guidebook is free of cost and you can download the same from the description link given below. If you are new to our YouTube channel, do press the bell icon to receive the latest updates, and do join the Telegram channel to receive the PDFs of the session. The link of the Telegram channel is given below in the description section. So let's begin today's session. Today we'll be covering what is leadership, what is the characteristic of leadership, the differentiate between leadership and management, what is the difference between formal and informal leader, and lastly we'll be discussing basic leadership styles. So let's begin the session. Let us understand leadership with an example. Indra Nooyi, she's a very great leader, and each of us know her as the CEO of PepsiCo. Back in 1994, Indra Nooyi joined PepsiCo as the vice president of the company. But eventually, because of her high ethical, work ethical behavior and high dedication and inner motivation, in 2006, she was appointed as the CEO of PepsiCo. And eventually, under her leadership, she brought a lot of changes in the organization. And she's very popularly known for providing PepsiCo with a strategic directional change, wherein she proposed the idea of development with purpose. Keep in mind, she introduced the concept of development with purpose, which means she was not only motivated from within, but she also motivated her fellow colleagues to bring PepsiCo to the recent heights. So now that we have understood how she worked, let us look at the technical definition of leadership. What is a leadership? Leadership is not just about directing people. It is more about guiding people, influencing the behavior of others, so that your fellow colleagues or your teammates work in with full enthusiasm and a willingful manner to do what, to achieve certain goals in a given period of time. So you can say that leadership is not just being ruthless and giving directions to people. Okay, it is not about directions. Okay, you cannot be ruthless and just ask people to do a certain task. You have to guide them, motivate them throughout the process, so that your organization reaches to new heights. So this is what leadership is. As per Key and Thomas, they define leadership as the process of influencing and supporting others. Keep these key terms in mind: influencing, supporting others. Why? So that they work enthusiastically which means your fellow colleagues should not work forcefully. They should have the enthusiasm to come to the job and perform the desired task in a given period of time, and so as to achieve the given objective. So, what are the key terms here? Influencing and supporting others so that they work in an enthusiastic manner and achieve the given objective. So, we can further say that an executive is a person, who just, as I said, you doesn't guide, but he doesn't just direct, but he guides and influences the behavior of other employees. So, what is basically a good leader? He guides people, he, motivates people to do the task in more effective and meaningful manner. So, as I said, you can take the example of Indra Nooyi. There are many great leaders around us. Let us take the example of Mahatma Gandhi. We also have leaders like MS Dhoni. We have leaders like Larry Page, etc. So, let us understand what leadership is in depth. Now that you have understood the basic definition of leadership, let us understand what are the characteristics of leadership. Now, first and the foremost characteristic of leadership is in that leadership is an interpersonal process. So, you can break the word interpersonal into two words. One is inter and second is personal. So, let's say this is a leader of an organization A. Now, in order to motivate these people so that they could do the work in a more effective way, he would constantly guide his employees. He doesn't keep the process of interaction a linear one, but moreover, he, properly takes feedback from the people and continuously interacts with the employees, and that is what is known as a interpersonal process. The next characteristic of leadership is that once you become a successful leader, or you're able to successfully motivate people or the colleagues, the people start working in a more willingfulness and in an enthusiastic way. So you need to keep in mind that these leaders, any leader, to be specific, has certain traits in common. What are those common traits? Those leaders are highly motivated. They have a positive outlook. They have experience. All these things are common whenever you look in any given leader. What is the next characteristic of leadership? The next characteristic that leadership is a group process. Any task cannot be done individually in an organization. The leader is not just going to direct them, and he's not going to stand and just order that you do the work and I'll keep on monitoring you. No, he not only guides the people, but he works along with them throughout the completion of the process. That is the one of the best characteristics of a good leader. What is the next characteristic? Leaders shape and model people. They shape and basically mold people. A good leader would shape your mindset. He'll provide you with a good vision, that this is what the vision of organization is. It is not just about profit making, but it is about growing as an individual. He or she will mold your mindset. That is another characteristic of leadership. Lastly, you need to keep in mind that leadership is a continuous process. As I said you in the previous slides also, whenever it comes to management, you just have to remember the key terms. So you have to remember that leadership is a continuous process. It is not a single day process. You cannot achieve great results by motivating people just on a single day. You have to constantly motivate your employees. So that is what it is said here, that leadership is a continuous process. Now, you can ask me that, ma'am, is there any particular style of leadership? No. Please keep in mind, there is no particular style of leadership which is applicable in every situation. You need to keep in mind that leadership depends on the situation. This is a very important concept which you have to remember, that leadership style depends on the situation. So which means based on the type of situation, the leader is going to decide how is he going to encourage or guide his fellow colleagues. I hope you understood the different characteristics which are exhibited by the leader. Now, let us understand the basic difference. We often get confused between the concept of leadership and management. So let us understand this with an example. Now, you have to first of all keep in mind that leadership is an inner trait. Whenever I say he or she is a good leader, it simply means that he himself is motivated from within. And it moreover is a personal character of a person. That is what it says. That leadership derives power from personal characteristics, which means a good leader is motivated from within. Whereas, let's say there's a management, or to be precise, a manager, he is derived by the power of authority, which means it doesn't mean that if there is a manager, he is a good leader, because he is obliged to do the task because he is sitting in an authoritative stance. He is having an authoritative stance in the company, because of which he is exercising his power and he is asking people to do his or her work. So it doesn't mean that he or she is a good leader and he has this inner trait of leadership. Okay? Now, you have to keep in mind that leadership, focuses on the transformation aspect. What do I mean when I say transformation aspect? Transformation aspect means that the leader is more concerned about, the thought process of his colleagues, or his fellow teammates. He is going to boost you, he's going to guide you so that you work willingly towards a given task. Whereas on the other hand, what does management focus on? Management focuses on the transactional part rather than transformational part. Management focuses on the transactional part. What is the transactional part? The manager would direct you to do certain tasks, and eventually he'll be monitoring whether your activities are turning out to be profitable for the organization or not. Matlab, he or she would make sure that your activities are reducing the cost, overall the company is getting cost benefit, or let's say, the process is not consuming whole of time. He is not going to motivate you in general, but the manager is more concerned about profit making. Keep this in mind, that the managers are basically concerned about the transactional part. Now, the next difference which you have to keep in mind, that leadership, focuses on the top line requirement. What is the top line requirement of an organization? If there is an organization, the top line requirement is the overall growth of the organization. It's not about profit making. How can you achieve the overall growth? When your employees are consistent, they are, aptly motivated to do the task. That is how you will achieve the growth of an organization. Whereas management just focuses on profit making. And as I said, leadership is about motivating, monitoring, and inspiring people to take the task in a more productive way and giving the required results. Whereas management is just about monitoring results. Okay, against what? Against plans and solving problems. That is, a manager would tell you that this is how a problem has to be solved, and he will be, monitoring your actions. So basically, what can you conclude? A manager just directs or orders, whereas a leader can be thought of as a coach who, constantly motivates you to bring out the best in you and perform the best for the organization. The best example of leader is MS Dhoni. He is one of the most popular and famous captains of our Indian cricket team. Indian cricket team. So, he had an inner trait of, leadership. He was highly motivated from within. There is a very common saying that leadership is a two-way street. That you have to believe the people with whom you work and they'll believe back in you. That is one of the most important sayings of leadership, and this trait was exactly exhibited by MS Dhoni. He embodied a lot of trust in his teammates, which made our country win a lot of crucial tournaments. Let's say, on the other hand, might be my example would not be that apt, but you can consider it in this way. You can take example of Manmohan Singh. In under his leadership, there were a lot of transformation which took place in our country. But again, somewhere we could say that he was guided by his party members, so he could not gather the masses. He was a good manager, but he could not turn into a great leader. A lot of you might disagree with me, but just to differentiate between these both concepts, you can keep this in mind. Now let's move ahead and understand the difference between a formal and an informal leader. As the name suggests, what do I mean by formal? Whenever I say formal, it means that those leaders which are officially appointed by an organization, formally appointed. And they control the working process of the people. Those type of leaders are known as formal leaders. Let's say you can take the example of Sundar Pichai. When he is officially the CEO of Google or Apple, which is subsidiary of Google, not Apple, I'm sorry, Alphabet Inc. Extremely sorry. So he is the official leader of Google. So he controls all the activities and guides people accordingly. You can also take the example of MS Dhoni. When he was captain of the Indian cricket team, he was officially the leader of the team. Now, on the other hand, what is an informal leader? An informal leader is the one who is not formally appointed but has the inner trait, of motivating people, which the organization as a whole is not able to do. Okay. So, let's say, you can take example of MS Dhoni. Let's say under the captainship of Virat Kohli, he was still, guiding people. Dhoni was still guiding and monitoring people, and he continuously encouraged the team to perform well. So that is what leadership in an informal manner is. The teammates, they looked upon him, they trusted his way, they trusted his words, his action, and then they got guided. And this is, MS Dhoni is one of the best example also of a informal leadership. Now let's say if you want another example, you can consider a situation. Let's say there is a manager, okay, and under his managerial domain there are three people working, A, B, and C. Now let's say this manager is not able to motivate these three people to bring out the best in them. But let's say this person C has a good technical command and he is highly motivated, and looking at his way of working, A and B also perform tasks according to his way, and they also take regular guidance from him. So what you can say, that this person, see, though he is not the official leader, his actions are influencing the other fellow employees. So this is what informal leadership in general is. I hope you understood the difference between both of them. Finally, we'll understand three basic leadership styles today. We'll understand what is autocratic leadership, what is participative leadership, and what is laissez-faire, that is delegative leadership, with an example so that you can easily differentiate each of them. Now, let us understand the first model, that is autocratic leadership. And the best example of autocratic leadership is Walt Disney. What did Walt Disney do? He had a very clear vision that he would take the major control or major authority or major decision in Disney. So what is the first characteristics in autocratic model? That the leader is determined to carry out the major activities or decision making processes. Okay? Now, there's a saying that though he would roll out various surveys to ask what can be done or what not to be, but eventually he would do whatever he likes. So which means there was no participation in this kind of model. Okay, there's no participation of the fellow colleagues in this kind of model. Okay. Now, secondly, this kind of model, does not go in making interpersonal relationships. It is just restricted to the professional relationship with his fellow colleagues. So, you can say this, no personal relation. And there is strict reward and punishment with respect to the employee's task ability, which means that Walt Disney was very sure that if an employee does not work properly, he would immediately fire them. So this is what autocratic model of leadership is, that the leader is very authoritative of the situation, and the best example is Walt Disney. Now let us move to the second type of leadership style, that is participative leadership style. So what does participative leadership style mean? The leader basically encourages the fellow colleagues. See, the leader encourages the group membership, the group members to participate in the decision making process, and the final say over, and he also lets them to have a final say over the decision making process. So who is the best example of a participative leadership style? That is Larry Page, the co-founder of Google. Not I'm sorry, Larry Page, he is a very famous co-founder, and what he did, he had a very high vision. He always wanted to produce or develop something new. So because of which he let his fellow colleagues to participate in the decision making process, and on timely manner he would let the employees know what are the decisions which are being taken. So as I say, participative, the basic word itself means allowing people to take part, so this is what participative model of leadership is. Now lastly, the last decision model is delegative laissez-faire. Now what do you simply mean by the term laissez-faire? सबसे आसान है, laissez-faire का मतलब no interference. So in case of a delegative or laissez-faire model, the leader would provide very little guidance to the organization. He or she would let the group members, the participants of a certain project, to brainstorm and come to a conclusion of solving the project in the best possible way. And the best example for laissez-faire model is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was highly motivated, and he believed in employing people who are highly skilled and highly motivated. So what he used to do, he would give them the task and let the people find the best possible way of solving the problem, rather than guiding them or spoon feeding them at every stage. He would let them wander and find the best possible solution, so that the overall enthusiasm and participation of people increases. So I hope you understood the three basic styles of leadership. So always remember all these with an example, so that it becomes easy for you to differentiate them. I hope you enjoyed the session. If you have any doubt, do let us know through our mail ID, or you can call us in the given number. All the best. Thank you.